The night was unnaturally still when the villagers of Darnwell heard it again, the haunting chant that drifted through the forest beyond the old church. It wasn't the first time someone had heard it. Every generation, it returned, a low melodicum that twisted into something almost human, yet filled with sorrow deep enough to crush a soul. They called it the Last Chant. No one knew where it came from. Some said it was the echo of a nun buried alive beneath the ruined chapel centuries ago, her prayers turning into curses. Others believed it was the voice of the forest itself, mourning the forgotten dead. But everyone agreed on one thing. If you followed the chant to its source, you never returned. Evelyn Marrow never believed in village folklore. She was a young archivist, sent from the city to catalog the ruins of the Darnwell Chapel. Her arrival was met with silent stares, the kind given to outsiders who didn't know when to keep their curiosity to themselves. She found the old church standing crooked on the edge of the forest, its bell tower broken, the heavy oak doors bound shut with rusted chains. When she first touched the stone, she felt a strange vibration, faint, like something humming far beneath her feet. That night, as she sorted through ancient manuscripts in the small cottage she rented, she heard it. The chant. It floated through the trees like smoke, soft at first, then rising in a sorrowful rhythm, each note pulling at something deep inside her. Evelyn tried to ignore it. She turned up her lantern, shut the windows tight, and told herself it was just wind echoing through the hills. But the chant grew louder as the night deepened. It wasn't wind. It had words, ancient, almost familiar. Her heart pounded. She could hear voices harmonizing, like a choir beneath the earth. The melody crawled beneath her skin. When she finally dared to look outside, she saw the forest swaying, though there was no wind. And between the trees, faintly illuminated by moonlight, stood figures, pale, robed, and still, facing the chapel. The next morning, Evelyn visited the local records office. She asked the old caretaker, Mr. Hobb, about the church. His wrinkled face turned pale. "You heard it, didn't you?" he whispered. The chant. He told her the story every child in Darnwell was warned about. Centuries ago, a convent had stood where the ruined chapel now rotted. When a plague swept through the land, the Mother Superior led her nuns in a final prayer, locking themselves inside to protect the villagers from infection. But their prayers became endless screams as starvation took them. Their voices, legend said, never left the chapel. "Every 50 years, Mr. Hobb muttered, someone new hears it. The dead remember. They sing for someone to join them." Evelyn, fascinated and frightened, decided to record the chant. She set up her old tape recorder by the window that night, waiting. When it came, the device crackled, capturing the eerie symphony of distant voices. But there was something else too, a faint whisper beneath the melody. A single voice calling her name. She froze. She had never told anyone she'd be there. The whisper came again, clearer. "Evelyn, come finish our prayer." Her breath caught. The candle flickered wildly as the chant grew louder, pressing against the walls of her mind. She turned off the recorder and fled into the night. She didn't sleep. By dawn, curiosity overpowered fear. She returned to the church with her recorder and a lantern. The chains on the doors were snapped, as if something had torn them apart from the inside. The air smelled of damp stone and decay. Inside, pews lay overturned, and the altar was covered in strange runes drawn in ash. She found the source of the sound, a trapdoor behind the altar, half hidden under debris. The chant vibrated from below, faint but rhythmic. She hesitated, then lifted the door. Stale, cold air rushed out, carrying the faint scent of lilies and rot. She descended the narrow, stone steps into the darkness. At the bottom, she found a crypt. Stone coffins lined the walls, each bearing the mark of a cross, and a name long erased by time. The chanting was clearer now, but there were no living mouths to sing it. Her lantern flickered as shadows danced along the walls. Then she saw her, at least what was left of her. A skeletal figure in tattered robes knelt in the center, hands clasped in eternal prayer. Her jaw moved slowly, soundlessly, yet the chant filled the room. Evelyn realized it wasn't sound, it was inside her head. The words clawed through her skull, ancient Latin she somehow understood. One must remain for the hymn to end. Suddenly, the air shifted. The temperature dropped. The walls seemed to breathe. Whispering voices surrounded her. "Stay with us." The lantern went out, leaving only darkness, and the faint phosphorescent glow of runes carved into the floor. Evelyn stumbled backward, but her feet felt heavy. The chant rose, the walls vibrating as if alive. And then silence. A single heartbeat later, a voice behind her spoke. "We waited for you." She turned. The skeletal nun now stood, her empty eye sockets burning with faint blue fire. The prayer was never finished, it rasped. Now it must be sung to its end. Evelyn screamed and ran for the stairs, but the passage was gone. The stone wall had sealed itself. She pounded her fists until her skin split, but the only response was the soft return of a chant. It grew inside her head, burning her mind. Her vision blurred as she began to mouth the words unwillingly. Each syllable felt like fire on her tongue. The nun smiled. "Now you remember the hymn." Evelyn's voice joined the chorus, perfectly in tune. Days passed. The villagers noticed her cottage door wide open, her things untouched. The recorder sat on the table, still running. When the constable played it, all he heard was faint static. But if you listened closely, behind the noise, you could hear the soft echo of Evelyn's voice whispering, "Amen." They sealed the chapel after that, again. But the chant didn't stop. On still nights, the wind carried her song across the valley, a melody of grief and surrender. Children covered their ears. Dogs howled. And every few decades, the hymn returned, stronger, searching for a new voice to complete it. Years later, a group of college students came to Darnwell for a paranormal documentary. They had heard the legend of the Last Chant and wanted to record proof. They laughed off the villagers' warnings, setting up cameras around the ruins. One of them, a girl named Lila, found Evelyn's recorder half buried near the altar. She pressed play. Nothing but static, until faintly, the same chant began to hum beneath it. That night, their footage caught something horrifying. In the distance, shadows gathered around the chapel door. The chant began softly, then louder, and as the students screamed and ran, the camera turned one last time toward the doorway, where a pale woman stood, lips moving in prayer, eyes hollow and glowing blue. No one found the students. Only the camera remained, its lens cracked, but still recording, capturing the final moments as the chant filled the forest again. The villagers buried the device and warned outsiders never to disturb the chapel. But stories spread, online and in whispers, of a melody that haunted recordings and dreams. People who heard it too long started humming it unknowingly, even in their sleep. And somewhere deep beneath the chapel, the voices kept singing. The hymn was endless now. The Last Chant had become eternal. In the city, far away from Darnwell, a sound engineer named Thomas found an old cassette labeled Darnwell Tapes, Evelyn M. Curious, he restored it and played it through his speakers. Static filled the room, followed by the faintest trace of melody. He increased the volume. Behind the distortion, a woman's voice whispered softly, "Can you hear me?" Then the chant began again, beautiful, mournful, perfect. Thomas felt his body go cold. He couldn't move. The air thickened, and shadows began to stretch across his walls. He turned off the recorder, but the chant didn't stop. It came from inside his head now. The reflection in the dark window wasn't his anymore. Evelyn was standing behind him, her lips moving in rhythm with the sound. When police found his apartment days later, there was no sign of struggle, only the recorder still running, and a faint hum that filled the entire room. The tape was sent to archives, but anyone who tried to digitize it reported strange dreams and faint whispers calling their names. Over the years, rumors spread that the chant had adapted, transmitted through sound waves, finding new listeners. Podcasts, video clips, even static on a phone call carried fragments of it. Those who heard it too long began to disappear, leaving behind only humming in empty rooms. Some say the Last Chant isn't just a curse, but a ritual looking for completion. Each listener adds a voice, unknowingly continuing the hymn. Once it belonged to a nun's dying prayer. Then Evelyn's curiosity gave it life again. Now it belongs to everyone who hears it. And one day, when the song has gathered enough voices, it will end, but only when every last listener has joined the choir beneath the earth. Until then, the chant continues, soft, patient, eternal, waiting for you to hum along.